working with an external drive right now. Starting to clear out all my baggage stuff. My baggage stuff. What's up, Wayne? How you doing, Mr. Wayne Dawson? How you feel, bro?
I'm good, brother.
Nice. You
I
know we're
am good.
live. We're live now, bro. We're live.
Okay.
How you doing, man?
Brother Paul, I am well, strong, beautiful. It's midweek. It's Thursday. You know, we don't celebrate hump days, brother, unless we're on the up. So we passed that. And today we're talking about Thursday, getting ready
Yes.
for what I call the strong end, because we don't celebrate week ones either, Paul.
That's right, man. That's right, man. We- my guy, Wayne, man, always a smile on my face when we hanging, man. We connected, brother. And especially when we're hanging and it's intentional, bro. When it's intentional, woo, child.
Yes,
And
sir.
bro, we got a special intention for today, brother. What are we talking about today, Wayne? This is a special one, bro.
Yeah. See, Brother Paul, you and I know we were about to do some work together.
Yeah, bro.
And we boys from yesterday. And one of the
Yeah,
things
true
that
words.
came upon us is we had some miscommunication. What I say, miscommunication. And as boys, you know, we had let it slip because we were busy doing what we do, you
Yeah.
know, taking care of business. And in the process, we took each other for granted. We had some work we were about to get done, and it lapsed.
Mhm.
So there were some feelings and some gaps. And what we had to do was to just put aside stuff, get together.
Yeah.
And here we are for the first time, kind of publicly having a discourse to see
Woo.
how it went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. I'm excited about this, man, because I thought it was so interesting. You and I had a lapse in communication based on the work we were creating for a course on communication. So when this all happened, I'm like, yo, this is bananas. And then when we hashed it out, it was like, okay, this is something special. So tonight in this live, we're gonna this is real here because even though Wayne and I are kind of joking about it, we're making fun and light of it. Like this was a serious thing, and when Wayne and I had worked through our situation, we knew that, hey, you know what, man, this may be something that we want to talk about on the live and really put out there to more people, especially men, because what can happen is there can be a lack of communication with another dude, with your spouse, with whatever, and then guess what? You're up doo-doo's creek, man. It's not
Yes,
a good
sir.
look. It's not a good look, bro. So we're gonna
Yes, sir.
talk about how men can go through, how we as men went through miscommunication. We drifted apart, and then we came back stronger. So bless up to you, my man, my brother Wayne, my
Yes,
friend,
sir.
someone who bruh. We had tension, and we chose to repair, bruh. And I hold you in high regard because that's one of the things that helped to freaking help us bring this to the next level, bruh. Bring
Yeah.
this to the next level.
Yeah. What a
So,
lesson learned, Paul. What a
yeah.
lesson learned. You know, one of the things, and here's the other thing, we're
Mhm.
slightly dealing with the intergenerational stuff too. So that's important to
Okay,
check
yeah.
because we relate a little bit differently in terms of expectations. So tonight we wanna talk all about that. We want to talk about how you put your shield down, right? Your armor, that cloak, that man's box,
Yes.
and get transparent, get vulnerable, and get real.
Yeah, brother. Yes, man. So let's Wayne, let's take it to him this way, man. Let's share like what happened from each of our perspectives because I think when we do that, I think the people that watch this will end up getting an idea. Like I think that they're going to end up relating to one of us in this whole experience around communication. So I'll model and share first, right? So
Okay.
so as I mentioned before, Wayne and I put our heads together to create a course on communication. We had been spending weeks, every week, like putting stuff together, really building this course. And it was getting close to the end phase where we created a webinar that we were going to present to all of you, and then present an offering that people could have take a longer extended course for people that are either coaches, therapists, people working with others to show them how communication can help their I guess like constituents or people that they work with. So as we got close to the end, like I was out from and this is from my perspective, and Wayne's going to share his. So I was going through speaking engagements, and like, so my usual schedule was getting shell shocked. In addition to that, Wayne and I usually had time on Mondays where we chilled, but because of my full time, we had I wasn't able to do that usual time, so that time had gone. So we weren't connecting on a regular basis. Now the thing for me was, because I had a lot of different schedule shifts and like with the podcast and stuff I had going on, my part is I failed to communicate with Wayne what was happening. All right. So as time lapsed on, like Wayne had reached out, I wasn't reaching out back to him, which I'm working on that, but I wasn't reaching back out to him. And then like there was a gap, and then Wayne reached out and he was like, listen, I'm feeling kind of way. And like, you know what, just out of respect for you and me, we're going to pause this. So that's when I was like, oh, jump, man. I had to take a pause and really think about this, because like, listen, I love this brother, man. I hold him in high regard. And like when that happened, when I saw that, I was like, dang, what went on? What happened? So that's when I reached out and I was like, hey, Wayne, let's get some time and work this through, man. And then I'm gonna pause there, because then we'll talk about how we mended it. But that's my share up until that point. Wayne, you want to share what the situation, your perspective?
Yeah, and we want to remind the folks that some of what we're sharing tonight, Paul, we're hearing it for the first time, because this is unrehearsed.
Yeah, true. Great point. Great point, bro. Great point. Yes, great point.
We're coming in raw tonight, folks.
Yes.
So like Paul said, we're getting together this, ironically, a communications training for the masses. And we thought that we were ready to go to pull the trigger, as it were. At the same time, Paul works a full-time gig, and I'm committed remotely full-time. So there's a slight difference in terms of a variability in terms of availability.
Yeah.
And so Paul couldn't meet as frequently as we were. The cadence was on a Monday during the course of the day. So we stopped doing that. And he was preparing for some stuff, as was I. But there was an expectation from me that we would fill the gap getting ready for the final D-Day, when we were going to do our masterclass. And when I hadn't heard from Paul for a few outreach, I started mind reading, started assuming that the brother didn't value the thing as much as I was valuing it, you know. And Paul, I was putting so much in on the backside, and I'm saying, man, brother Paul ghosts me and won't even call. Man, what did I do? I started feeling, what did I do? You know, and went on that trip, and you know, I was hurt. So we'll talk about that piece after. But you know, I'm happy that we got together when we did to resolve, more than anything else, Paul, the brotherhood.
Yes, and brother, thank you for that. And that's one of the reasons I'm so happy you called this the brotherhood reset. How transparency can heal and strengthen men's relationships. Because and before we go into how we resolved it, I think it's important, because this is what we'd be doing in the course, is to highlight some of the things that we heard in what we were saying, right? So a couple of things that I heard that can create a ton of disruptions in relationship is, one of the things I said was assumptions. And Wayne, I heard you say that as well. And what I heard Wayne say was expectations. So these are two things right off the get-go, right off the jump, where we both recognize, as we talk about how we reset, we both recognize, like, dang, for me anyway, I was living in an assumption. I was like, oh man, like I assumed that, you know, I told Wayne this, blah, 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 like what he would know, right? And this is so crazy, Wayne, because when I think about it, that's one of the things that grinds my gears, when people assume. So that's the thing that got me even more jammed up, because I'm like, yo, here I am doing the thing that drives me freaking nuts. You know what I'm saying, Wayne? I'm like,
absolutely.
Why, God? But anyway, man. So, and also one of the things too, which I think is important for as we start to talk about the reset, was, where are we? Right. So, in a couple things, just to highlight for the people, a couple things, Wayne, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. When we both stated where we were, right, acknowledging where we were, I'm going to speak for myself. I failed to clearly communicate that. So what that could have looked like is like, hey, Wayne, I heard your messages, checking in. Yo, junk is real hectic right now, son. How you doing, bro? Listen, I'll be able to get back into it, ... Yeah. Right? Now, if I had said that, right, what would your experience have been in all this, bro?
That would have landed beautifully, because I would have said we can reset timing or my expectations. One of the things that was happening on the backside, Paul, since I was kind of doing some grinding on some of the pieces with the masterclass,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to kind of get your input, but not to displace your participation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
man.
so while you were doing it, I wasn't trying to offset, but just getting some work done. And so I would have said, let me hold back a little bit. You'll check on it when you could check on it. And it ain't like that serious. The folks are going to get our information when the right time hits.
Yeah, man. And Wayne, I want to challenge us too, right? Especially as we work together, is that, especially because like one of the things I heard, and again, we're going to talk about this in the reset, but one of the things like I heard, and I even heard just now, was the amount of attention and intention you were putting in what was going on in the back end. That's something that I really heard when you were saying it. So even if it's like, okay, hey, not a big deal, I think it's healthy as we learn to communicate with each other as men to be like, hey, Paul, this means a lot to me. So I would like, are you able to make do and see this and check on this by the end of the week or by this time? Now, as our relationship and communication gets clearer, then I have the opportunity to state, well, yes or no, right? And we can negotiate and figure out what works. So I just want to make sure that we talk to that, because I think that's such a huge piece in when we're communicating with each other, like, hey, where are you?
Yes, sir.
All right, here's
Yes.
where I am. You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious your thoughts on that piece as we navigated that, man.
No, I like that. And when we talk about relationships outside of the brotherhood, like men, women relationships,
Yeah.
one of the things as a coach that I help people to do is to clearly define your expectations. But rather than put people in a seat where you tell them what they ought to do after you talk about expectations, you let people know where you stand. And
Yeah,
so, it's important that we talk about, I am feeling, I am this, I am the other, because I think that definition of where you stand, where we stand, is important for the other person to see and hopefully acknowledge, so that you feel seen.
yes, man. You feel seen. That's a key piece. I don't know if a lot of brothers will talk about that. Like, the need and the desire to be seen, the longing to be seen, man. Like, this guy actually acknowledges that I have a sense and I have feelings. But
Yeah.
Wayne, let's start to pivot down to the reset, because
All right.
I thought it was really cool. And I really appreciate the fact that, that you were open to hearing, that you're open to having the conversation, because I think that there can be times, and I'm gonna be honest. I know I've been one of those cats who come to me like, hey, can we have a conversation? I'm like, get out of here, man. Back up. Get out of my face. I'm not saying shit to you.
Yeah.
My language. But like, so I want to acknowledge, first of all, the willingness to have the conversation.
Absolutely.
So Wayne, actually, so since we're talking about the reset and the conversation to mend things, you want to go first with your perspective, man?
Sure, absolutely. Paul, if you recall, one of the things that I did, the very first sentence was, I'm feeling hurt.
Yes.
And that I had to check in before I sent that off, because I was saying to myself, this sounding kind of a little funny or what? We boys and all, but that's a lot of inside sharing.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought at the end of the day that there was something in my spirit, in the pit, man, that had to be reckoned, And so my beckoning to you was to say from the get-go, whether or not it was intentional, that's how I was feeling. I was feeling hurt, not so much that, you hadn't called per se, but that our brotherhood seemed a little bit smeared, uncertain, unknown, undefined.
Yes, man. Yes, man.
Yeah.
So I would like to talk to that for a second, because I think that's extremely powerful how you started that phrase, man. And I want to highlight that to people that are, if there's a split between you and someone that you care about, I think it's so powerful to first state what you're experiencing, like what you're feeling, what you're sensing. And you hit it right on the head. Like, there's something as a dude I'm very leery of doing. Okay. Because I feel like I'm like, yo, I sound like a teenage crush right now, bro. Like, I'm feeling really hurt.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's important because by you stating what your experience was, like, yo, I'm experiencing hurt right now, man. Like, that opened me up to like, oh, junk, like there's harm here. Now, the reason why I think this is important is because of Wayne was like, yo, man, what the heck is going on with you? Blah, 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 this, that, blah, 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 blah. Now, listen, I would have still read it because it's my brother Wayne. Yet at the same time, like by him saying, hey, man, Paul, man, damn, like I'm hurt. Like I'm feeling hurt, man. Like that opens it up to really a space to say, oh, wow, talk to me. What's going on? What's your experience? Like what? And like you said before, like your thought was like, yo, what did I do while he's not coming back? My thing was like, what did I do to hurt him? You know what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
was powerful by you doing that, bro. That was like that. The way you wrote that was like that was very. Yeah, thank you for that, man. That
But check
opened
this
it up.
too, Paul. One of the things that I was careful of doing before I hit the send button
What's that?
was to not throw stones and said, you did something to me. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way I received it may have not been how it was intended. So maybe there was nothing done. You were just busy. You understand? You weren't even thinking about that in that way. You were just waiting for the day and we're ready to roll like we did tonight's event, right? So for me, with time on my hands, working so much into the mill, I was saying to myself, man, I'm smoking like this. Ain't nothing happening. Not even a smoke signal from my brother, you know?
Yeah.
So I personalize it when in truth and in fact, that may have been my fault. But I wanted to be clear, not to say, yo, brother, when you did this, you disrespected me. I never wanted to start off like that because that would have meant probably opposition on your part right away, you know?
Yeah, it definitely could have. And I just realized something that the way that this all went down and the way like this model is when we're resolving conflict, I think is an opportunity to mend the relationship. And for me, it was an opportunity to look at how I show up. So specifically speaking, like that's one of my things is especially like over the years is when things get busy, my communication can go south. Like it's almost non-existent. And this was a really good opportunity to observe the impacts, man. Know like what's some of the impacts that may happen when you do this. So this whole situation really gave me an opportunity to be like, hey, listen, if things are going crazy and haywire, still check in and communicate, stay in front of it, like so they know what's going on. And I think that is a key piece because as you and I like, and from my experience, when we got on the phone, well, first that willingness to say, yeah, let's talk it out, let's chop it up. Then when we got on the phone, it was basically I think a lot of it is because of how our communication is, and because of our training with just like and who we working with men, us doing our best to be our best selves. I think it gave us that right ground. Bless up, thanks, James. I think it gave us that right ground to really say, okay, listen, man. So here's where I was coming from. Oh, junk, like I didn't know, because that's the thing that was so wild, bro. Because I knew that you were putting in work on the back end with like the landing page and stuff like that, getting the nuts and bolts really signed up and functional, right? But I had no idea the links that you had gone to with this, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, John, and I think that's the power of just what, like you and I both talked about this, and we had this in the course as well, active communication. And for our guys, I think it's important that we acknowledge, man, like when we're in that space to mend things, the best thing to do is be silent so your other person's heard and reflect what you're hearing, bro. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
I respected that. I love that you came off like that, you know.
Yeah, man. Yo, because like I said, I care about you, bro.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Paul.
Yeah,
You
man.
gave me room to come straight. And as my younger friends say, and I hate to come across this way because I'm not phobic, you know, the first thing once I said, man, I feel hurt, I was reading it to say no homo. That's how my friends talk, you know, the younger kids that you gotta coach. But at the end of the day, man, there's brotherly love and respect. One
Yes.
of the things that I looked at, Paul, when we talked about our differences, because when we work together as Black men, as we are going to be doing to survive, especially
Yeah.
what's happening out here in these streets, we have to respect differences and learn the social and cultural norms, especially when we're dealing with it can be cross generation or cross nationality. You know, Paul, my background as a Jamaican man, you know,
Yeah.
comes with a whole lot of other stuff, right, bro?
Yep.
And so understanding the
Yes.
pulse and the heartbeat of someone who came up maybe slightly different,
Yeah.
that's going to be important. And so you and I think we put back all of those blankets and saw each other for what we represented.
Yeah. So Wayne, let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's one of the things, like, is where, like, and one of the things specifically about the cultural differences, and allowing space for that to come through. Because you know, because I'm of Jamaican heritage. My parents are from Jamaica. I was born here, even though, like, you know, I'm first generation, right? So I know, I'm familiar with the culture. So there's a part of me, like, when and that's actually, as we're talking about this, when I saw you were like, hey man, I'm feeling hurt. Like, I know in our culture that's an extremely challenging thing for another man to say to another man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, junk, what's going on? Now the thing is, and I think it's so important that we do acknowledge this, because first, by that space that we created with each other, even though we know each other, for people that don't, for men that fail to really know each other, by being open to, hey, what was your experience? Now we can start to talk to the cultural differences and have a deeper understanding of each other, and where we're coming from. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. And
Power,
language,
man.
and language is important. One of the
Yeah,
things
man.
in our culture, I'll give you an example. When the Jamaican culture, when
Hmm.
you're talking to each other and somebody is kind of saying, complaining, there's a way that we sometimes handle that. We'll say, don't worry yourself, man. Just hush, man. Hush.
Yeah.
Relax. The first time I said that to an American born person,
Oh,
man, they came at me because it
shit.
sounded like I was saying, shut the hell up. And that just means chill, don't worry about it. I got it. Hush, man, just cool. That's what it means. So, so even our interplay of language and how we speak, is important. And a lot of times, when we're talking to each other and we take it for granted as men, we
Yeah.
have to be aware that someone could, in their normative dialogue, just roll off certain words and it means nothing. It doesn't carry with the same sting that you may perceive it based on your own cultural norm and practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man, dude, that's a great point. Hey, Wayne, are you open to going on a ride with me on something, bro?
Absolutely, bro.
So as we're talking here, and as we started to really, like, lay out the pathway, for what we did together to really mend a separation that we had, I'd like for us to, like, because you know how one of the things we like to do is we like to provide some takeaways
Absolutely.
as coaches, man, and as guys. We know we
Absolutely.
gotta come with some takeaways. So for our fellas, we about to go in. We about to hook you up. Me and my man, brother Wayne Dawson,
Yes, sir.
VIP himself. You
Yes,
heard it here
sir.
first.
In the house,
In the
baby.
house, baby. We're gonna hook you up with 5 tips, tools for transparent communication between men. So Wayne, here I got own your side, pick up the phone, let go of the need to win, hold space, don't fix, acknowledge what matters. So Wayne, let's run through these and then we wrap up for the day.
Got you.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go on the first one because I'm gonna this was key for me, right? Because in my judgment, I dropped the ball on communication. So for me, it was important. Tool one is important to own your side, acknowledge your role in whatever the situation is. And it's not about beating yourself up. It's more about acknowledging what you could have done differently that could have created a different outcome with the person that you're in conversation with. Wayne, anything on this one that you want to point out before you do the pick up the phone?
Absolutely. Listen, man, communication requires a sender and a receiver, right? And then the medium. So I got to own it too. You can't communicate just on your own, meaning I also could have done a few things differently. So it's not all on you, Paul. So, I may have called or did this, but there was another piece that I could have done. And the important thing, I think, when we're communicating, when you say own your side, explore all of the possibilities, the things that are in the blind side that you could have done differently for a different outcome.
Yes, man. Yes, definitely. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Wayne, I love what you said there. Wayne, talk to the people about the tool of picking up the phone, man.
Oh,
How did
man.
that support our situation?
Oh, that's cool because, when you write something, there can be several different interpretations to the writing. I know with my own sons, I stopped doing that stuff because I send them a little note on the end of happy birthday and they're mad. Oh, you said this. No, I ain't mean nothing by it, bro.
Right,
you're,
right, yeah.
you're overthinking. So it,
Whoa.
it was so important for me to, and for you that we said, hey man, let's make a call. That's what you said to me. Let's hook this up so we can talk on it.
Yeah,
Because in the moment when you're having a real dialogue and conversation, you have an opportunity to get immediate feedback in the conversation.
yeah.
So there's like a cycle in terms of communication rather than you talk, gotta wait, get it interpreted, feedback, which happens in writing.
Yeah, man. Listen, I want to and to build on that wisdom. One of the key things, rather than going back and forth on email or text or anything like that, when you're talking to a person, communication, a small part of communication is verbal. So being able to, like, one of the things, like when we went through this, and I was like, man, Wayne, let's get on the phone. I want to hear Wayne's voice, man. I wanted to hear his voice. Like I was like, yo, let's hop on the Zoom. I want to see his face. Why is that, Paul? Well, because like I said, I care about this dude, man. So I want to be able to like see, like if there's something he's saying that I could tell hurt him so we can address it. So pick up the phone, pick up the Zoom, whatever it is looks like, and go for it, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
What we got, third, Paul? What we got
Third,
next?
we got let go of needing to win. Listen, I don't think so. The thing out of the five that we have, I'm thinking that you and I didn't have this on either side.
Nah.
And this is a very critical thing that can happen when it comes to conflict resolution. I can go in like, I'm gonna defend this stance. But what does that do?
Yeah. Paul, one of the things that as a culture we have learned to do is compete, right? Which is foreign to us in terms of tradition. Yeah. Collaboration and communal living is what we know as a people. And so the need to win, man, that need to get on top and be one up doesn't help. And that creates more conflict. So we're saying the way that we saw it was, how can we cooperate and collaborate rather than somebody has to win this conversation, got to win this position.
Yes, man. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think, Wayne, I think that is like a cultural conditioning. Like you gotta you gotta win up, you gotta get over, and especially like you and I, like listen, we have to, for what we do and like the services, we do have to sell. So there's a part of it about like like leaning in, asking questions, but it's and also like, okay, I want to win this sale, but it's in this type of situation, it's never about winning, it's about owning. All right, Wayne. The next one we got is like, don't hold space. Don't fix. What you got to say on this one, Wayne?
I'll let you go first on this one, brother
Paul. Woo, child. Listen, this one I think is very important for more men to recognize, because I judge like, and I'm probably projecting, Wayne, but like I like to fix stuff. I like to fix and like, hey, something's got a problem, I gotta fix. I've had to practice over the past 5 years to hold space. And what that looks like is close my mouth, open my ears, echo what I heard, and then reflect or ask for clarification. That's holding space. It's free of judgment. I'm not looking to fix you. I'm trying to get data and feedback on what happened in the situation, and then we'll go from there.
Powerful. Paul,
Yeah.
you're talking about active listening and active receiving response, right? Just
Mhm.
checking it out, allowing the person to say they say before you start making a judgment and intervening. Now, as men, we know again when it comes to our society and the way we're trained, we're goal oriented.
Mhm.
We just come to fix. So when my wife comes in and she says, "Hey, I had a problem with my supervisor," I don't really want to hear the story. I want to tell her how to fix the stuff. And
Yep.
she just wants to tell the story. So we have to let go a little bit, man, and recognize. I don't know if that's ego or what that's about, Paul, but we have to sometimes just lay low, man. And like you said, hold space. Just make the space safe and clean and wholesome without jumping in with the tools.
Yeah, man. Just hold that space, baby. And listen, one of the things too with holding space is be free of judgment.
Yeah.
So whatever the person that you got in conflict with is going or experience, be free of judging it. Simply acknowledge it, observe it. And that's a key piece. Hey, Wayne, last one before we wrap up.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledge what matters. And we talked about this a couple times. Listen, Wayne and I both care about each other, man. We're brothers, man. And we,
Brothers, brother.
that and it's true. And we care about what we're doing. I think that was the key piece about it because like I recognize the work that we put in. I'm like, okay, man, we put stuff into this and that matters. Like Wayne put stuff into this, that matters. I put this stuff into this, it matters. So acknowledging what matters when it comes to the using communication to address conflict is a huge boost to resolving the conflict and ending ending that connection on a much higher level than it started before the conflict.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man,
in
listen,
short, what we're saying is validating,
mhm.
acknowledging what matters.
Yeah, man.
And validating allows us to be seen. In a world where Black men are often told that we're not good enough, it's so important to be acknowledged, man.
Yes, yes, bro. So important. And listen, this is Wayne. As we start to wrap this up, man.
Wrap it up.
Wrap that up, E. Listen, one of the things like I was reading through this, if there's a if and this is like the invite for me, man. If there's a person that you drifted from, or that that you lost over miscommunication, drop a comment, thumbs up, and what would it take to repair that bond? Which one of these 5 tools that we gave you here that's on your side? Pick up the phone, let go of winning, don't hold space, don't fix, acknowledge what matters. Which one of those are you going to tap into that will support you in really mending that relationship?
Yeah,
When any
man.
last ones, man, before we wrap it up?
I'm just saying, release yourself from the man's box because the only prisoner in that box is yourself, right? Be honest,
Mhm.
be vulnerable, be authentic, and just be real, man, to your brothers and your neighbors
And so it is, brother. So it
and
is.
yourself.
So it is. And
So it
so
is.
it is.
Brother Paul, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap, B. Yo, thanks everybody. Stay tuned. We got some good stuff coming out. Maybe we'll do some more lives impromptu like this, help you out with communication goodies. Stay tuned for the goodness coming out from both of us. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Peace. Wayne.